Give us an update for Wilmer.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
I spoke to Wilmer yesterday, and he's doing.
I'm calling Megan now. Hold on.
Talk over. What am I talking about? Flag Day, thank you. Flag Day has been an ongoing operation since the beginning of the year with getting schools involved. And we have part of the blessing of this, I think, is having reading the essays and the poems that fifth graders write and the essays that the eighth graders write about what the American flag means to me. And I would like for you to be there because splashed all over the program is Emmaus Rotary Club. You are sponsoring it. We're using some money that we've been working to make to buy trophies for these students and to give them gift bags. The state senators, representatives have helped us with that. And the Odd Fellows with Gloria King are paying for the programs. But the Rotary is doing all the rest of it, and so you're there. And Lexi's going to be on stage. I just did share with her one of the essays is by a little guy who had, whose mother called me and said that he will not be able to get on stage. He wrote beautifully, but she said he's too anxious to get on stage. And I said, I remember his essay. I said, it's one that the veterans would have to hear. And I invited her. I said, would you be willing to read it? And she said, well, yes, I would. She said, well, you send me a copy of it. And I said, the thing about it was that this kid wrote from his heart. It started out with getting up to say a pledge to the flag was always he said, I didn't even pay any attention to it. I just did it. And because I remembered the words, I got up and it didn't really mean anything to me. And then my cousin went into the service, went into the army. And he said, he'd never been out of the United States. He'd never even been to anything like Colorado without being homesick. And here he was going across the ocean to another country. He said, then sacrifice started to mean something to me. And I'm not going to tell you any more of it. I hope his mother can get through it. But I told her that I said, this kid writes from his heart. And he wrote something that was really meaningful to him using his family members. And I said, for him to get up and be anxious anyway. And then I said, you know, he can be a writer. I want him to write. He doesn't have to be a character. But anyway, that's just one example of the quality of the poems and the essays. So it's only going to take an hour. It's going to be in and out burger, you know, but it's going to be a really full program. We've got singers, little kids who are singing and playing and drumming and advancing the colors with the veterans. And it's going. And I said again that our speaker, who is a 28-year veteran reserve, Navy SEAL 1 and Navy SEAL 2. So we're all set to go. Starts at 6 o'clock.
We should be there at what time?
We can be there. Yes, I'm going to try to be there a couple hours early to get the table set up. But the bureau does everything about the bunting and the stage. So all we have to do is get the things lined up on the tables and make sure that everybody is in their spots. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Sue. 6 o'clock, Monday, June 14th. Community Park at the big pavilion. Okay. Ralph, do you want to say, $53, good. Mike has his hand up because he wants to tell you about bricks. We're laying 3 bricks today. One for Bob Fander, one for Bob Halty, and one for Paul Sarver. Take this mic.
We're going to install the 3 bricks today for Bob, and Paul, and I hope that you can be there. I made arrangements for the storm front to move through about 8:45. It will clear. It's going to be, I saw a 9% chance of rain. I'll take that. So we're going to head over to the Remembrance Garden immediately after the meeting, and I'll see you over there.
Can I have Megan? I'd like to remind everyone about the first ever Fellowship Funway speech picnic on Friday, June 25th at Emmaus Community Park at the Emmaus Rotary Pavilion from 6 to 9 p.m. Please RSVP with me by around the 18th or a little afterwards is fine, so that we can have enough food. Fellowship's going to do a little cookout. Sal and Wade are our hot dog dudes. They're going to have their hot dog rollers out, and they're going to take care of that. We're going to have some picnic food, chips, and all that good stuff. It is BYOB or wine or whatever you want to do, just no glass. We'll have water and like soft drinks. And if you do plan on participating in having a 4-way speech, please let us know so that we can time out everything and let the judges know what to expect. Thanks. If you have questions on how to do a 4-way test, contact me and I'll get you set up with Tony to give you some pointers.
Are there any other announcements before we do our bylaws? Okay.
Today we're honoring 3 former members that passed away. I hope you can make the ring ceremony. But in honor of a lot of other Rotarians that have passed since that time, maybe 15 years ago, I'd like to honor them by mentioning their names. Dr. John Phillips, Larry Winter, former president, John Fisher, Rocky Rockwell, John Cleveland, Rich Brooks, Jerry Friedman, Bob Bisbee, Steve Howard, Paul Franz, Paul Ginger, George Boyd. God bless them all, and may they rest in peace. We'll miss them.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you. Since I'm not getting here that often, I want to take the opportunity to remind you we're rounding the corner on foundation. We've just moved into the final month of this Rotary year. So for those that have donated so far, thank you. For those that have not, please step up. If you have any questions at all about where you stand, I've had a few this morning. I can get you that information at any time. So if you're not sure where you stand for this year or in general, toward your Paul Harris, I have that information available. I can get it to you whenever you need it. So I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Bill, quick question.
Sure.
How much does the Rotarian have to give to count towards our every Rotarian every year?
There's actually 2 numbers, as I've said a number of times. The original number for E-Ray, every Rotarian every year, was $100. Jeff McElhaney years ago said, you know, I'm a finance guy working inflation. We need to change that number. So since the first donation to Rotary was $26.50, he said, why don't we have E-Ray on steroids for $126? So it's 2 numbers, but 100 is
give like $5 and it counts towards our participation.
oh yeah, any amount counts, but in terms of qualifying technically for road E-Ray, we have 2 different levels. But yeah, good point, Mark. Any amount that is good donation, appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, help please. I sent out some emails and we really need help this summer distributing food at the Emmaus High School. The times are changed. It's now from 10:30 to 12:30. We just don't have that filled, and we've been very fortunate. Karen and Richard Jensen from the Lehigh Valley Passport Club have been doing it like almost every week. If you can only do it for an hour, we'll divide it into 2-hour segments. It goes pretty quick, but please email me. I think we have a date in June yet that's not filled, and I usually have filled in, and I just can't fill in every week. So thank you. Please email me.
Thank you, Cindy. Now, our last order of business is our bylaw addition vote.
I'm actually going to slip in 2 quick announcements there as well. Our flag session went really well this past weekend, so thanks to my team on doing that. I will pass this around. This was an application we got for a flag. It's why we do this. I'll just read the first sentence. This flag leasing program is being purchased in memory of my uncle, Private Michael Finees. He was from the country, a fallen hero of Normandy. At the age of 24, he gave his life for our freedom. I'll let you read the rest of it, pass it around, but that's why we do this program. It's not over. We are going for a minimum goal of 100 flags this year and just keep on growing. So please let your neighbors know this is what it's for. We're getting great response on it and all that kind of good stuff. Just a little quick side note for whoever does signing table duties. I had the pleasure of reorganizing our 2 boxes over the weekend. Found 100 different pens inside our boxes. Only 1 box is necessary for the signing table now. The other box just has spare parts in it and things that we would need otherwise. So and I have the 1 box labeled as for the signing table duties. That's the only box you'll need to grab whatever you need for the meetings. All right, thanks.
Finals.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, that little thing. Yeah, okay. We had to vote again today and figure out why my computer just lost the video. Yes. The minor bylaw change that we had to make that we want to vote on today is we had the way it basically is worded is term limit for members at large, board members at large to 3 years. They need to be off 1 year and then they can serve again after that. So we're just looking for a yay or nay on voting for that. So all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. That's the IT work.
I'm excited about this program. I've tried to learn 3 different languages, French and Spanish and American Sign Language. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I guess I get fined. All right, we need our raffle and our Sarge.
Yeah, so raffle's coming up. I figure we put the sexiest man in the Emmaus Rotary. So Steve, if you can pick out a oh, this gave my last 3 numbers are 358. God bless one. Eileen makes these cards. They're made from her heart, and I would tell you what, I've given some of these out, and people are so appreciative. Thank you, Eileen.
Yeah, they're great.
So how much time do they need for the program?
An hour.
An hour, okay, good. Then everybody owes me a fine. And then we just get right into the program. So it seems people are getting some press lately now that we're out and about. So I know, Gordy, that was last week. So you all fine for being in the press. And President-elect Mike, you're looking spectacular in this color photo. Photoshop. So it's not color, it's still a photo of you. Oh, is that what you're trying to say? So there is a, in case you didn't remember, and I'll do a review of the fines when, am I running it next year, the fines, Happy Dollars? I wasn't officially asked by the incoming president, but he did increase my budget, so you guys are in real trouble.
Can we take a vote on
You could probably take a vote, but it ain't gonna count much.
Just got a bunch of money.
Yeah.
It's 1 to 50.
150, yeah, I don't understand. So people have paid me fines, some people came in late, some people aren't wearing pins, some people are promoting their business. They've already paid fines, so I can go right to Happy Dollars. Go ahead, Chris.
My wife found out yesterday that she received a really small part in a Netflix show called Servant. I'll keep you in the loop when it's going to be airing. She's posting
I have 5 Happy Dollars. I was able to contact the daughter of a former member, Homer Keller, who some of you probably know, and asked if he had any artifacts, because he was our cameraman from like the mid-1980s up until about the mid-1990s. He took videos of all the different presidents' parties and different people giving speeches and this and that. And, some of you are in these videos; they're really good. Unfortunately, they were on VHS, and no one had a machine or anything, so we took it to Chris Horniman took it to Cult Photography, and they were able to make a PDF file for us. So I just got to see it yesterday. And, well, actually, there are 3 total tapes, but on the one tape, I was really happy to see it was the presentation of our student exchange program person whose name was Kana from Tokyo. And it was her giving her presentation. She lived with us that year. That was in 1994. And it was just amazing to see her do her presentation again. So it was really cool. So.
Right. Work.
You guys, I did with the Oscar contest, and the neat thing about it, second time, Richard Wolf that owns the Roxy Theater, he won it 50 years ago this early June, so it's really great to be back there. They're hoping to open up probably by this June or so, so it's great to go back to the Roxy Theater next week.
So my wife is pretty irritated with Gordon because Michelle's upset with you because she also picked 5 of the 7. But she sent it in, I guess, a day or 2 after you. So she thinks it would be appropriate for you to take us with you to the ride.
Your wife.
Thank you.
Yes.
So my wife and I are just back from Juneau, Alaska, where we spent 2 weeks, and visiting our daughter who lives there with her partner. He's been there. They've been together for 6 years, and now live up there permanently or fairly permanently. One of the interesting aspects of it, to tell you that things opened up, it takes 3 trips to get up there and 3 plane trips to get back. Every plane was filled with families with kids, and all of the families were going to see their relatives who they haven't seen in a year. There was tons of knee grabbers and ankle biters. It was just amazing how it was on the airplane. Anyway, it was a great trip. No one, well, on the planes, everyone has to wear masks, but Alaska opened up, and you can actually get a vaccine at the airport as you arrive. So it's very, very interesting.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to recognize Eric Locke and the committee about the flags. I don't know if you guys realize this, but there were about 66 flags that were put up. 2 of the orders came in Saturday, or Friday, I guess. 2 of the orders came on mailbox. I dropped it in Eric's office and got those covered. It was a huge job to put all the posts on all the ground and get them all the limbs. I think Eric and that helped me.
Yes. Down the hall.
Shouldn't he have to pay $1?
I think so, yeah.
Thank you. I have $5, one was for fine, but we are just amazing. I don't know if you guys know, but Ralph Lewis turned 90 years old a couple weeks ago. Young as he looks. So I go out and get the mail the other day, and there's an envelope from North Carolina. And we received for our food craft program a check for $1,100 from Ralph's family because of his 90th birthday.
Wow.
I got $50 from another person, which has been coming regularly as a result of our meeting. The other dollar I have is thank you everybody for your thoughts and prayers. My brother had Erie, which is the saddest thing here. And my brother's surgery was successful, sort of, and he's good, so that's good. The other thing is I'm telling, and Chris kind of made me, our president who had a color picture in the newspaper, has also had a picture of his selected with the Lehigh Valley Photographer Club with Chris's to go in the Downtown Art Museum show. So sorry, Mike, had to say, but we have some talented people.
That cost me more money, yeah?
I just gave it.
Just give your wallet, that's all.
Thank you.
Other happiness abounds?
Oh, yeah.
Wade?
I'm gonna give you 10 happy dollars. So there's a level of accountability that you can only find in a place like this. So this morning when I got here, I got how come you park so far away? I'm like, And then I get, you didn't return my phone call. And then I get, why didn't you eat your crust? And I get, you're kind of an odd fellow. And I get, it's really weird. So only $10 can buy you that kind of love.
We are donating the crust to Ralph's father. Did you pay me yet?
All right.
You want any change?
No, don't take
Want a
it.
receipt? Yeah.
Yeah, you can have a receipt.
And I owe you a fine. I told you I'm excited about this program. I have some deaf people in one of my congregations, and I learned how to baptize, bury, marry people with a little bit of sign, so I can tell you Happy Christmas, and I can ask that you remember the time. So our program, Megan.
Good morning again, everyone. For the record, Wade, you have great taste in music. That's a nice thing to say to you today. Our speaker today is Denise Brown. She's a representative of the Office of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. As a representative, Denise wears numerous hats. One day, she may be providing training on hearing loss or interprets to the, I can't read today, or interprets to the state agencies such as area of aging. The next day, she's advocating for services for Pennsylvania senior citizens who are deaf, blind, or hard of hearing. And the next day, she's providing assistance to an organization that is creating policy and procedures for contracting with interpreters for.
Denise doesn't need to speak.
Brown has over 24 years of diverse experience while working to promote the inclusion of Pennsylvanians who are deaf, blind, or hard of hearing. In addition to her current job, she has been an adjunct teacher at Lehigh Carbon Community College and Bloomsburg University, teaching American Sign Language courses. A native of Allentown, Pennsylvania, Denise graduated magna cum laude with a BA in social work from Doublet University in 1987, and a Master's of Arts in Deafness Rehabilitation from New York University in 1989. She's also an avid reader and enjoys traveling and walking with her beloved rescue dogs, Elmo and Coco, who are 15 and 17. So I will hand it over, I guess, virtually to Denise and her interpreter, Cindy, who are going to present virtually today. Thank you, Denise and Cindy, for being here today.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to give this presentation. This is a unique experience for me to do this presentation remotely while you're there on site. I know COVID has really caused a lot of trouble for everybody, but it has caused a lot of communication access issues for people as well. So I grew up deaf, and I was the only deaf person in my family. I grew up here in this area. You may know other people with the last name Brown. We're a large family in the Allentown area. I have lots of aunts and uncles and cousins in the Allentown, Bethlehem area. So I'm going to talk about understanding hearing loss. And we'll go ahead and start with the first slide. John, do you have the first slide? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so understanding hearing loss. This is what you should know. Let's go ahead to the next slide. And let's advance to the next slide. So ODHH, or the Pennsylvania Office for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, is actually the smallest office agency within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We are in the Department of Labor and Industry, and you probably have never even heard of us. That's because we are very small, but we are mighty. We do a lot of work for deaf and hard of hearing individuals, as well as people who are, gradually losing their hearing over time with aging and exposure to noise. We have an office in Allentown, in Harrisburg, and Johnstown. And the 4 crucial functions that we do are advocacy, we provide information, we provide referral for services, and we also administrate the sign language interpreting database. So we're in the middle of the state, and I am actually the only person who is in my office. I do everything from A to Z. I answer my own phone calls, do my own emails, do my own travel, give presentations, and advocate on behalf of people. There are no fees or requirements to get our services. Anybody can contact us at any time. All people are welcome. Now, we do not provide direct services. We provide information and referral to help you get the services that you are requesting. Let's go to the next slide. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Click and like us there. And there are weekly messages that show up on Facebook, and you can, make comments and suggestions and such. That's up to you. Next slide, please. So the topic today, of course, is hearing loss. And the term hearing loss is very broad. It includes everyone who may have just a mild hearing loss, or people who have a more moderate hearing loss, or even a more severe hearing loss. Next slide. I'm sure you're all familiar with an iceberg, and I'm using that to represent hearing loss. Because whenever you come across an iceberg, you see a small amount of ice on the top of the surface of the water. But what you don't see is the huge amount of ice that is beneath the surface of the water. And that's what can do the most damage. And that's equivalent to hearing loss, because people think, oh, you can hear, or it's really not as bad as it is. Or people sometimes don't even realize that they're slowly losing their hearing. The average individual who loses their hearing takes about 7 years to realize that they finally have a hearing loss and they have a problem with that. They may say, oh, the TV's not loud enough, turn that up. Or they say, oh, no, you're not talking loud enough. Or, things like that. So it takes an average of 7 years for people to realize and admit that they have a hearing loss. And wearing hearing aids is not the same as wearing glasses. When you have glasses, everybody knows that you have trouble seeing. Well, and glasses usually fix the problem. Hearing aids don't always fix the problem and make you able to hear perfectly. And a lot of senior citizens, lose their hearing later in life. They are the largest group of individuals that have a hearing loss. And I will tell you later about the power that you have to make change to the law. So it is possible to take in information visually, but you can't take in that same information auditorily. So we have to be providing access to that information. We need to be changing people's mindsets and, what their paradigm is, so that we're making people more aware and more mindful of individuals who have a hearing loss, so that that information can be made visible to them instead of audible. Next slide. So again, just to emphasize, it really is not about the ear at all, because putting on a hearing aid doesn't always fix the problem. It helps, and it may improve your ability to hear about 20 decibels or 20%, but it doesn't fix the problem. So it's really a communication and a language disability. So even though you wear a hearing aid, you may still not be able to hear well. So the technology can be helpful and beneficial, but it does not fix the problem and make you able to hear 100%. Like when you put on glasses, your vision is often 20/20 or very close to it. Hearing aids do not work the same way as glasses. And a lot of people misunderstand that and think that if somebody's wearing a hearing aid, that they can hear normally. And that's not true. Hearing aids are just a tool to improve your ability to hear, but they do not make it as that you have normal hearing. And it's very frustrating for people because they were misled by people who sold them hearing aids, and they thought, oh, they were going to be able to hear perfectly when wearing the hearing aids, and that's not true. Next slide. And now some of this information I'm going to go through quickly. About 98% of the people who have a hearing loss really are hard of hearing. The people who are deaf are about 2%. I'm one of those 2% people. So those individuals who have a hearing loss, 35 to 40 million of those people have some degree of hearing loss. And about 6 million of them have hearing aids. So keep in mind, if there are 35 to 40 million people that have a hearing loss, but only 6 million can use hearing aids, you might think there is something wrong with this picture. Wouldn't you agree? What about the other 30 million people that don't wear hearing aids? And you might say, now, wait a minute. Why are those 29 to 44 or 34 million people not wearing hearing aids? And it is a monetary answer because they cannot afford the cost of the hearing aid. So if you get glasses, you pay around a couple $100s for a pair of glasses. The average cost of a hearing aid is around $2,500 to $5,000, and that is per hearing aid. So can you imagine how many people just simply can't afford to purchase a hearing aid? So that really is a hardship for people. It's very unfortunate. So that's one of the things that I do every day is, people call and say, hey, I want to get hearing aids. How can I purchase hearing aids? So these are people who are out there amongst you every day that want access to spoken language, and they're denied spoken language because of the cost of a hearing aid. So really, they're not able to access the communication. Next slide. So these are just some tips. I'm sure you've already experienced some of the things. But, make sure that the lighting is bright enough when you are speaking to somebody that has a hearing loss. Maintain eye contact. Speak in a normal voice. Don't shout at them. Speak at a normal speed. And if they didn't understand what you said, rephrase the message. Because when you're looking at words like time and dime and so forth, they look the same on the lips. And other ideas are that you can write notes or, find pictures or something that can help convey your information. Well, please just be patient. Really, we need patience to figure out what people are not understanding so you know how to communicate with them appropriately. And sometimes you have to repeat or rephrase. And also, it's important to remember about the acoustics of the environment that you're in. you know, that some rooms are better built for sound than others, and, you know, just be conscious of that. Next slide. Now, people who use American Sign Language or ASL, you know, so that's like me. It says, "Hi, my name is Denise Brown." You know, a lot of people think sign language is very difficult. It is in the beginning, but once you get into learning it, you can pick it up quite easily, just like any other foreign language. So again, it's not a word-for-word translation, it's a concept translation. Next slide. So, and obviously you can see that I'm using a sign language interpreter. It's important that you keep eye contact with the deaf person, be patient, and so forth. I want to go on to the next slide. So I want to emphasize the top common question that people ask deaf people is, can you read lips? And deaf, you know, that's really what people want to know. Can you read lips? But remember, in the real world, only 30 to 40% of English is actually visible on the mouth. You know, can you fill in the blanks in this phrase? And that's what, when you ask the person to lip read, that's what you're asking them to do. There's a lot of information that's not visible. And so people have to fill in the gaps. I have a video here in the PowerPoint, but we're not going to have time to watch it today. It's about lip reading, and I'll send the link to John, and he can send that out to everybody. And that will really help you understand the struggles that deaf people face when they're being told to use lip reading. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, we'll go to the next one because that's the video. People really underestimate the impact that hearing loss has. They say, oh, well, you speak so well, you must understand me. You have hearing aids. You know, you have this assistive technology. You don't have any problem communicating. You can lip read, you can write notes. And I can tell you, remember that previous slide? If I'm trying to lip read or communicate in another way auditorially, I have to fill in a lot of gaps and make assumptions. So it's not easy to do, and it's not the best way to communicate. Next slide. I'm going to skip this section. I want to show you the technology. I think that's going to be more important. Go to the next slide. Oh, back one more. Okay. So today, with the pandemic, you see we're using a lot more video technology and video remote interpreting. So that's just one example of how we're using technology to help deaf people access communication. Next slide. So there's assistive technology available. Next slide. Hearing aids are one piece of technology, and there's a variety of styles and kinds of hearing aids. One of my strongest recommendations for people is to be very, very careful when you are looking for hearing aids. There are a lot of sellers out there for hearing aids. I would actually recommend that you go to a licensed audiologist, because they specialize in doing audiological testing in a soundproof booth, and they can get accurate test results and make sure the hearing aids actually are appropriate for what you need. Often people buy hearing aids without having the proper audiological testing, and then when they get those hearing aids, they don't help what they thought it would. And it's very frustrating to people to spend that amount of money and not get the proper services. There also are assistive listening devices now. There are captioning services available, flashing lights, vibrating alarms, and so forth that people can use as well. Next slide. So this is just an example of some of the technology that we have. You know, you can actually ask the business if the room that you're having your meeting in has a loop, so that the person who is deaf or hard of hearing can simply turn on the telecoil switch on their hearing aid, and then they can access the information coming through the microphone better. Next slide. Captioned telephones. They're very cool. So this is for people who can't hear well, but actually can speak just fine. So there are telephones available where they can speak their message, but the call is routed through a call center so that when the person replies to them, the operator is captioning what's being said, so the deaf person can actually read the captions of what's being communicated to them from the other end of the telephone. So those operators and communication assistants are, you know, typing the message out so the deaf and hard of hearing person can read it. So it's a great technology. Now, if you have a limited budget, you can get a telephone free. There is a process to go through in the teledevice distribution program, and that information is available in our packet. Next slide. I'm going to skip this part. It's about video relay service. It's the same as the captioned telephone, but using sign language instead. The hearing aid packet. John, would you mind showing the other document? So you can see this is our hearing aid packet. So people call us inquiring about finances and how to get money for hearing aids. This information in this packet is what we have. And the reason that we get all these calls about funding for hearing aids is because insurance doesn't cover hearing aids. Now, some of these companies may be closed because of the pandemic. You know, they might not be providing the same services and so forth, but these are the options in this hearing aid packet that are available for funding for hearing aids. And again, hearing aids are not very affordable. They are expensive. And Medicare only pays for the hearing screening. They don't pay for the hearing aids. Now, if you have a supplemental insurance, it may pay a small fraction of the cost of the hearing aids, but it doesn't cover the entire cost of the hearing aids. So what you can do is contact the federal legislature to, you know, see if they can get funding for hearing aids included in insurance companies, so that insurance companies are paying for hearing aids. And I think, you know, if we have enough people out in the community working together on this issue, we can make an impact and get the law changed so that insurance companies are required to cover the cost of hearing aids. So, or at least get them to cover 70 or 75% of the cost of hearing aids, so that hearing aids can be affordable for the common person. That would be my recommendation if you're looking for something to do. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you. I hope you learned something today.
We did, quite a lot.
Thank you. Any questions? Karen?
Question about a cochlear implant. She can't hear. A cochlear implant. Who would have a cochlear implant?
Okay, that's a good question. So cochlear implants are different than hearing aids in that you actually have to see a medical doctor, and it depends on your eligibility whether you can get one. So the doctor has criteria that you have to meet in order to determine if you can get a cochlear implant. And it often depends on insurance, it depends on the amount of hearing loss you have and what the hearing loss is. So I can't really answer that question. You'd have to be evaluated by a doctor because it is surgery. And they do have that at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia or University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. They have them here at Lehigh Valley Hospital. So a lot of people are nervous about cochlear implants. I have a friend who got a cochlear implant. You know, the technology that they have nowadays for cochlear implants is vastly improved from when they first started. Now, if you're hard of hearing and, you know, a hearing aid may be beneficial, but if you can use a hearing aid, they're going to recommend that you use a hearing aid and wait until your hearing loss gets bad enough that the hearing aid's not helping to do a cochlear implant. Because if you get a cochlear implant, it destroys any residual hearing that you have at the time. So you will be completely deaf in that ear without the cochlear implant. So people really do, you know, appreciate having that ability to hear with the cochlear implant. But again, there are pros and cons with it.
Thank you. I heard that in American Sign Language there are dialects. You are from the Lehigh Valley. Can you tell everybody our sign for happy birthday that's a little bit different?
Sure. So our sign for a happy birthday is pulling on the ear. Remember when you're young and people wanted to pull your ear and, you know, give you some swats. So that's people say. And there's another sign for birthday that is this sign from the chin to the chest. So there's lots of different signs for happy birthday.
That's fun. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, let's stand and say the four-way test. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First. Second. Third. And fourth.
Beneficial.
Okay, stay safe out there.
Eric, you do a good job with the technology. Thanks for that. It was so good being online all that time and
Thank you, John, for helping me out.
Because we realize someone like Wilbur can't get to a meeting, so we're always going to have this feature. That's good. We're going to work on just how to simplify it. Thank you.
Okay, so is it okay for me to go ahead and sign off now?
Yes, you can have fun and go about your day, and it was awesome presentation, so thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
I'll
Bye.
make sure we get those emails out to the members.
Okay, I will go ahead and send you that link as well. And you have the packet so that you can send that out.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Very enlightening.
All right, have a good day.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye.